47 pages of warnings. That was how the Galactic Council classified Earth. Ambassador Rila read through the file again, her small, feathered body trembling with each new horror. Extreme temperature swings, active volcanic systems, predators in every region, poisonous plants, electrical storms, a corrosive atmosphere made of oxygen and nitrogen. The list went on and on. She stood before the council chamber, surrounded by representatives from over 400 species. All of them stared at the holographic display floating above the central platform. It showed a blue and green planet, beautiful from a distance, deadly up close. Earth is classified as a Class 7 Deathworld, Rila announced. We lost 2 research probes just trying to enter its atmosphere. The humans who live there are either incredibly lucky or incredibly dangerous, perhaps both. The display shifted to show footage collected over decades. A massive spinning storm tearing across an ocean, mountains exploding with liquid rock, creatures with hundreds of teeth swimming through dark water, lightning splitting the sky, floods drowning entire cities. Gasps and cries filled the chamber. Several delegates covered their eyes. One fainted. And yet, Rila continued, her voice tight, humanity has submitted a formal request to host the first interspecies cultural exchange program on their homeworld. Silence fell, then nervous laughter. Surely this was a joke. A young human stood from the back of the chamber. He wore simple clothes and had a friendly smile that seemed out of place given the horrors still displayed behind him. If I may address the council, he said, my name is Danny Reeves. I represent Earth's cultural ministry. Rila gestured for him to continue, though her feathers flattened with unease. Danny walked to the center platform, completely relaxed. I understand your concerns. Earth is dangerous. We know this better than anyone. Our ancestors survived ice ages, predators, diseases, and disasters that would have ended most species. He paused, looking around the chamber with genuine warmth. But we learned something important along the way. Danger does not have to mean death. It can mean growth, it can mean wonder, and sometimes it can mean peace. The holographic display changed. Now it showed green forests under soft sunlight, rivers cutting through valleys, snow-covered mountains touching blue skies, animals grazing in open meadows. We would like to share something with you, Danny said. Something humans have done for thousands of years. We call it camping. Confused murmurs spread through the chamber. Camping means leaving our cities and going into the wild places. We sleep in temporary shelters. We cook food over open flames. We walk through forests and swim in rivers and watch stars appear in the night sky. A tall insectoid delegate raised a limb. You voluntarily expose yourselves to the dangers you just described, for recreation. Yes, Danny said simply. More confusion. The Lithori scholar in the third row took rapid notes. The Aquari delegate seemed intrigued despite herself. The Venari section looked ready to flee the chamber entirely. We have chosen a location called Yellowstone National Park, Danny continued. It has forests, hot springs, rivers, wildlife, and some of the most beautiful views on our planet. We would welcome a small group of volunteers to join us for a traditional camping experience. Ambassador Rila stepped forward, and the dangers. There will be some, Danny admitted. But humans have been camping in Yellowstone for over 1,000 years. We know the land, we know the weather, we know the animals. We will keep your people safe. You cannot promise that, Rila said. No, Danny agreed. I cannot, but I can promise that we will protect them with our lives. That is what humans do for guests. The council debated for 3 hours. Arguments flew back and forth. Some called the proposal insane. Others called it a unique opportunity to understand humanity better. A few suggested that anyone who volunteered deserved whatever happened to them. In the end, the vote passed by the narrowest margin possible. Danny thanked the council and prepared to leave. Rila stopped him at the door. I still think this is foolish, she said quietly. My people are small and fragile. Earth would kill us in hours. Then perhaps a Venari should volunteer, Danny said. To prove that even the smallest and most cautious can survive our world, or perhaps to show the Council that their fears are valid. Either way, would that not be valuable? Rila stared at him for a long moment, then she walked away without another word. 3 weeks later, a transport ship departed Station Harmony carrying 5 alien volunteers and 1 human guide. Destination: Earth. Purpose: camping. Most of the galaxy expected them to die. Danny Reeves expected them to have the time of their lives. One of them would be right. 5 beings sat in the passenger cabin of the transport vessel Gentle Current, each wondering if they had made the worst decision of their lives. Senna pressed her webbed hands against the viewport, watching stars drift past. She was aquari amphibious by nature, her blue-green skin glistening beneath the moisture suit that kept her comfortable in dry environments. Her clutchmate had died young, never leaving their homeworld. Senna had promised herself she would not live the same way, even if that meant dying on a deathworld. Beside her, Bryn sat perfectly still. The Lithori scholar's crystalline body caught the cabin lights and scattered them into tiny rainbows. Silicon-based and ancient, Bryn had studied primitive cultures for 600 years. Everyone said humans were violent and dangerous. Bryn believed they were simply misunderstood. This trip would prove it one way or another. Across the aisle, a small ball of feathers trembled inside a climate-controlled travel pod. This was Mott, a Venari security officer assigned against his will to observe the exchange program. He was Ambassador Rila's cousin. She had volunteered him personally, perhaps as punishment for some long-forgotten family disagreement. Mott was absolutely certain he would die on Earth. He had already recorded 17 goodbye messages for his relatives. Next to Mott sat Kira, the youngest of the group. The Delaney teenager stretched her 4 arms and yawned, showing teeth that were flat and harmless. Blue fur covered her tall frame, and her large eyes sparkled with excitement rather than fear. She had won a competition to represent the younger generation in the exchange program. Her parents had cried when she left. She had promised to bring back souvenirs. Finally, hunched over a medical kit the size of a small vehicle, sat Pell. The Hyven doctor resembled a large beetle with delicate manipulator limbs and compound eyes that missed nothing. Pell had volunteered specifically because someone would need medical attention. She had prepared 200 antidotes for various Earth toxins. She expected to use most of them. Danny Reeves entered the cabin with a warm smile. "How is everyone settling in?" Nobody answered. Mott's feathers flattened. Kira waved one of her hands. "I thought we could go over some basics." "Before we arrive," Danny said, taking a seat. "Camping 101. He activated a small holographic display. Images appeared showing fabric structures held up by thin poles. "These are tents, temporary shelters. We sleep in them." Bryn leaned forward, crystal facets catching the light. "You sleep inside fabric, not metal, not stone." "Fabric," Danny confirmed. "Sometimes just a thin layer between us and the outside world." Pell made a clicking sound that translated roughly to dismay. The display shifted to show flames rising from a pile of wood. "This is a campfire. We build them to cook food and stay warm. We sit around them at night and talk." "You deliberately create combustion," Senna said slowly, "and then you sit near it." "Right next to it," Danny agreed. "Sometimes we cook marshmallows over it. Those are soft, sweet treats. I brought some for you to try." Mott whispered something about humans being insane. New images appeared showing forests, rivers, mountains, and open meadows. Wildlife moved through the scenes. Large, furry creatures with horns, smaller creatures with bushy tails, birds soaring through open skies. "Yellowstone National Park," Danny said proudly. "One of the most beautiful places on Earth. We have forests, geysers, hot springs, rivers, and incredible wildlife. The park is larger than some moons." "And this is one of the safer locations?" Bryn asked, furiously taking notes. "One of the safest," Danny said. "We have trained rangers, marked trails, and emergency services nearby. Humans have been camping there safely for over 1,000 years. Kira raised a hand. "What is a geyser?" Hot water that shoots out of the ground. The Earth heats it underground and it erupts into the sky. Very dramatic, very beautiful. The planet shoots boiling water at you, Mott translated, and you consider this a tourist attraction. Danny laughed. When you put it that way, it does sound strange, but you will see. There is something special about standing near something so powerful and wild. It reminds us that we are small, but we are also part of something bigger. The transport announced their approach to Earth's solar system. Everyone looked toward the viewport. There it was, a small yellow star with 8 planets orbiting around it. The third planet from the star glowed blue and green, wrapped in white clouds. Earth, Danny said softly, home. Senna noticed that his voice changed when he said the word, softer, warmer, like he was talking about someone he loved. It looks peaceful from here, Kira said. It is peaceful, Danny replied. It is also wild and dangerous and unpredictable, but that is what makes it beautiful. Life that has to fight to exist learns to appreciate existence. Mott's feathers slowly relaxed, just slightly. Pell stopped organizing her antidotes for a moment. Bryn set down his notes. Maybe they were all going to die. But looking at that small blue world growing larger in the viewport, something else stirred in their hearts. Curiosity, wonder, the same feelings that had driven their species to the stars in the first place. The transport began its descent toward the deathworld called Earth. The transport door opened, and 5 aliens took their first breath of Earth air. Senna gasped. The atmosphere was thick with moisture, carrying scents she had no names for. Growing things, decay, life and death mixed together in every breath. Her moisture suit was almost unnecessary here. Bryn stepped onto the soil and felt the ground shift beneath crystalline feet. Soft, yielding, nothing like the metal floors of stations or the stone of his homeworld. He knelt and touched the dirt with one hand, watching tiny creatures scatter away from his fingers. Kira bounded forward, her forearms spread wide. Trees, she shouted. Real trees, they are everywhere. Mott stayed near the transport, feathers pressed tight against his body. The sky above was too big, too open, nothing between him and the endless blue except air. He felt exposed in a way he had never experienced on any station. Pell immediately began scanning everything. The air, the soil, the plants. Her medical equipment buzzed and clicked with warnings about pollen, bacteria, fungi, and 100 other microscopic threats. She would need to update her antidote list. 2 humans waited at the edge of the clearing. One was a woman with sun-darkened skin and practical clothing. She wore a badge on her chest and a warm smile on her face. The other was a large man with broad shoulders and calm eyes. Scars marked his forearms, pale lines against dark skin. "Welcome to Earth," the woman said. "I am Annie Reeves, Danny's sister. I work as a ranger in this park. This is my friend Leo Okonkwo. He will be helping us with the camping trip." Leo nodded once. "Glad you made it." Danny stepped off the transport and hugged his sister. "Everyone survived the journey. I call that a good start." Annie laughed and turned to the aliens. "First things first, let us get you settled at the campsite. It is a short walk from here." "Walk," Mott squeaked. "Through that," he pointed at the forest surrounding the clearing. Dark shadows moved between the trees. Unknown sounds echoed from every direction. "Through that," Annie confirmed. "Stay on the trail and you will be fine. The wildlife here knows to avoid humans, mostly." They walked single file along a narrow path. Annie led the way. Leo brought up the rear. The aliens clustered in the middle, jumping at every new sound. A creature with a bushy tail ran across their path. Mott screamed and leaped into Bryn's arms, which was impressive considering Bryn was made of crystal. The creature paused, looked at them with small black eyes, then continued on its way. "Squirrel," Danny said calmly. "Harmless, they eat nuts and seeds." "It looked at me," Mott whispered, "calculating. It was probably hoping you had food." The campsite was a flat area near a meadow. Mountains rose in the distance, their peaks still white with snow. A small stream ran nearby, its water clear and cold. The grass was green and soft. Annie began unpacking supplies. All right, first lesson, setting up tents. What followed was an hour of confusion, frustration, and occasional laughter. The aliens had never dealt with fabric, poles, and stakes before. Kira somehow got tangled inside her tent and had to be rescued. Bryn's crystalline hands kept punching through the fabric. Senna's moisture suit made everything slippery. Mott refused to leave Leo's side. Eventually, 5 tents stood in a rough circle around a cleared fire pit. They were not pretty, but they were standing. "Not bad," Leo said. "I have seen worse from human campers." Pell discovered a pinecone on the ground and picked it up. Sharp edges pricked her manipulator limbs. She dropped it with a startled click and immediately applied antiseptic. "Pinecone," Annie explained. "Seeds from the tall trees, harmless." "Armored seeds," Bryn noted. "Earth plants protect their offspring with spines, fascinating." As the sun began to set, Annie gathered wood and built a fire. The aliens watched in horrified silence as flames grew from sparks. Orange light danced across their faces. Heat washed over them, strange and intense. Danny produced a bag of white fluffy objects. "Marshmallows, try one." He showed them how to roast the treats over the flames until they turned golden brown. Senna hesitantly took one and bit into it. Sweetness exploded across her tongue. Her species had nothing like this, nothing even close. She ate 7 more before Pell gently suggested she stop. Darkness fell, real darkness. No artificial lights, no glowing screens, just stars appearing one by one in the vast black sky above. "So many," Kira breathed, looking up. "I never knew there were so many." "Light pollution hides them in cities," Danny said. "Out here you see everything." The fire crackled. The stream whispered nearby. Insects chirped in rhythms that almost sounded like music. Mott sat close to the flames, his feathers finally starting to relax. "It is warm," he admitted quietly. "Fire is dangerous," Annie said. "But it is also how humans survived for thousands of years. We learned to make it, control it, and use it. Now we share it with you." Bryn looked around at the group, scholars' instincts taking notes even now. 5 aliens from 5 different worlds, sitting around a fire on a deathworld, eating burnt sugar and looking at stars. Nothing in his 600 years of study had prepared him for this. Nothing in any of their lives had prepared them for this. And yet somehow it felt right. Darkness on Earth was nothing like darkness in space. In space, darkness was empty, silent, predictable. You could float through it for light years and nothing would change. Earth's darkness was alive. Sounds came from everywhere, rustling in the bushes, calls from creatures hidden in trees, wings flapping overhead, water moving in the stream, the crackle of the dying fire. Every sound could be a predator, every shadow could hide death. Mott lay in his tent, feathers pressed flat, eyes wide open. Sleep was impossible. How did humans do this? How did they close their eyes when surrounded by so many threats? A long howling sound echoed across the valley. Others joined it, voices rising and falling in the night. Mott's heart nearly stopped. He crept out of his tent, unable to bear the isolation any longer. The fire had burned down to glowing coals. Stars filled the sky above more than he could count. Leo sat on a log near the fire pit, a cup in his hands. He looked up when Mott approached. "Cannot sleep?" Leo asked. "How can you sleep?" Mott replied. "What was that sound?" "Coyotes, small predators. They hunt in packs, but they avoid humans. The howling is how they talk to each other." Mott settled onto a log across from Leo, keeping the warm coals between them. "You do not seem afraid." "I have spent a lot of time in wild places." Leo took a drink from his cup. "Would you like some hot chocolate? It helps." He poured a second cup from a container and handed it to Mott. The Venari held it carefully, letting the warmth seep into his feathers. He took a small sip, sweet and rich, different from the marshmallows, but equally strange. "Why do humans do this?" Mott asked. "You have cities, climate control, safety. Why leave all that to sleep in fabric and listen to predators?" Leo was quiet for a moment. The coals shifted and sparked. Because we came from this, he finally said. For most of human history, we had no cities, no walls. We lived out here under these same stars, listening to these same sounds. The wilderness is not foreign to us. It is home. Sometimes we need to remember that. Mott considered this, but you could die out here. We could die anywhere, Leo shrugged. At least out here we are alive while we are living. Something moved in the darkness beyond the firelight. Mott tensed. Leo did not even look. Dear, Leo said, passing through, they will not bother us. How do you know? Experience, thousands of years of ancestors learning which sounds mean danger and which do not. That knowledge is in my blood now. Mott noticed the scars on Leo's forearms again, pale lines crossing dark skin. Were those from wild animals? Leo looked at his arms, his expression shifted, becoming distant. No, these came from a different kind of wilderness, the kind inside your own mind. Mott did not understand, but he felt he should not ask more. There was a time when I was very lost, Leo continued. Coming out here helped me find my way back. The wilderness does not care about your problems, it just is. Something about that honesty helped me heal. They sat in comfortable silence. The coyotes howled again, farther away now. Mott found the sound less frightening this time. Morning came slowly. Gray light crept across the sky. Birds began singing, dozens of different voices greeting the sun. Kira burst out of her tent. I survived the night, she announced proudly. Everyone had survived the night. Annie made breakfast over a new fire. Something called scrambled eggs that Pell scanned 3 times before allowing anyone to eat. Today we hiked to see a geyser, Annie announced, and if we are lucky, some bison. What is bison? Senna asked. Large animals, very large. They can weigh more than your transport vehicle. The trail wound through forests and across meadows. Senna delighted in crossing a stream, letting cold water flow over her suit. Bryn collected samples of rocks and plants. Kira took pictures of everything. They crested a hill and stopped. Below them, a herd of massive creatures grazed in a meadow. Brown fur covered their enormous bodies. Horns curved from their heads. They moved slowly, peacefully, unaware or unconcerned by the watchers above. Bison, Danny said. Wild, free. They almost went extinct once. Humans hunted too many of them, but we realized our mistake and worked to bring them back. You protect the creatures that could kill you, Bryn observed. We protect everything that belongs here, including ourselves. They continued to a wooden walkway built over steaming ground. The air smelled like sulfur. Pools of bright blue and orange water bubbled nearby. Steam rose from cracks in the earth. Then the ground rumbled. Water shot into the sky, a massive column of steam and spray reaching higher than the trees. The roar was deafening. Heat washed over them. The aliens scrambled backward in terror. The humans stood and watched, smiling. Old Faithful, Annie said. It does this every 90 minutes or so. Humans have been watching it erupt for thousands of years. Pell stared at the geyser, still processing. You mapped it. You learned its patterns. You built walkways so others could watch safely. Yes, Danny said. That is what we do. We study dangerous things until we understand them. Then we find ways to live alongside them. The geyser finished and fell silent. Steam drifted away on the wind. Kira looked at the humans with new eyes. Not reckless, not stupid, something else entirely. Brave. The clouds gathered faster than anyone expected. One moment blue sky stretched above the mountains. The next, darkness rolled in from the west like a living thing. The wind shifted. Temperature dropped. Annie looked up and her expression changed instantly. Storm coming, she said. Fast, we need to move. The casual, friendly guide was gone. In her place stood someone focused and alert. Leo moved to the back of the group without being told. His posture shifted, ready for anything. Stay close, Annie commanded. Do not stop, do not wander, follow me. They hurried along the trail. The first drops of rain fell, cold and heavy, then more. Within minutes, water poured from the sky like a waterfall. Kira's fur soaked through immediately. She started shivering. Senna would have enjoyed the moisture under other circumstances, but lightning cracked across the sky and terror replaced any pleasure. "What is happening?" Mott screamed over the wind. "Thunderstorm," Danny shouted back. "Weather on Earth can change fast. We need to find shelter." Lightning struck a tree somewhere ahead. The crack was like the universe splitting apart. Bryn felt static charge building across his crystalline body. This was bad, very bad. Annie led them off the main trail onto a smaller path. The rain made everything slippery. Pell stumbled and Leo caught her without breaking stride. Kira fell behind, too cold to move quickly. Leo scooped her up with both arms and carried her like she weighed nothing. "Cave ahead," Annie called. "Almost there." They scrambled into a shallow opening in the rock face, not deep but enough to block the worst of the rain. Everyone crowded together, wet, shaking, terrified. Lightning struck again, closer this time. The flash blinded them. The thunder hit their bodies like a physical force. Mott collapsed against the cave wall. His breathing came too fast, too shallow. Pell moved to him immediately, applying a mild sedative through his feathers. "Shock," she reported. "He will recover. He needs warmth." Danny produced emergency blankets from his pack. Shiny and thin, they somehow trapped heat. He wrapped one around Mott, another around Kira. Leo was already building something at the cave mouth. Fire, he was building a fire in the middle of a storm, with wet wood. It took him 4 minutes. The flames caught and grew. Heat pushed back against the cold wind. "How?" Bryn asked, amazed. "Training," Leo said simply. "Humans have been starting fires in bad conditions for a very long time. You learn tricks." They huddled around the flames. Rain continued to pour outside. Lightning flashed every few seconds. The world had become violent and loud and completely beyond their control. "I am sorry," Annie said. "The forecast said clear weather. This system came out of nowhere." "This is normal?" Senna asked. "Not exactly normal, but not unusual either. Earth's weather is unpredictable. We prepare for it, but sometimes it surprises us anyway." Bryn had been taking notes throughout the trip. He set down his recording device now. "In my research, I assumed humans were either ignorant of danger or immune to it. I was wrong about both." "We are not immune," Danny said. "Our ancestors died by the millions, ice ages, floods, droughts, plagues. Earth has tried to kill us countless times. And yet you survived. Because we adapt, we watch the sky, we find shelter, we help each other." Danny looked at the group. "That is what we are doing right now. That is what we have always done." The storm began to weaken. Thunder grew distant. Rain softened to a gentle patter. Annie checked outside. "Clearing up. We should be able to get back to camp soon." They emerged from the cave into a changed world. Fallen branches covered the trail. Puddles filled every low spot. The air smelled sharp and clean. And across the valley, stretching from mountain to mountain, curved a band of colors. "What is that?" Kira whispered. "Rainbow," Danny said. "Light passing through water droplets after a storm. Earth makes them sometimes." The colors glowed against the gray sky. Red fading into orange, into yellow, into green, into blue. A perfect arc painted across the heavens. Kira stared at it with wide eyes. She had seen wonders across the galaxy, nebulas burning with newborn stars, planets with rings of ice and dust, black holes swallowing light. Nothing had prepared her for this. "The planet tried to kill us," she said slowly, "and then it made something beautiful." "That is Earth," Annie said. "It does not pretend to be safe. It does not apologize for being dangerous. It just is what it is. And sometimes, after the worst storms, it gives you something like this." They walked back to camp in silence. The rainbow faded slowly as the sun began to set. Kira kept looking back at it until it was completely gone. That night around the fire, nobody spoke much. They ate warm food. They dried their clothes. They listened to the forest settling back into peace after the storm. Mott still trembled occasionally, but when Leo offered him hot chocolate, he took it without hesitation. We survived, Mott said quietly. You did, Leo agreed. Because you protected us. Leo shook his head. We protected each other, that is how it works. Mott wrapped his feathers tighter around his cup. Something had changed inside him. Fear was still there, but something else had grown alongside it. Trust. The last campfire burned bright against the darkness. Tomorrow they would leave Earth. Tonight, 5 aliens and 3 humans sat together under a sky full of stars. The forest hummed with familiar sounds now. Crickets, owls, wind through pine needles. Sounds that had terrified them days ago now felt almost comforting. We should share what we will tell our people, Bryn said. His crystalline body caught the firelight, scattering warm colors across the group. I will go first. He set aside his notes. 600 years of studying primitive cultures, and nothing had prepared him for this. My research is ruined, he said. Every theory I had about humans was wrong. You are not primitive. You are not aggressive without reason. You choose to make yourselves vulnerable so you can feel alive. No other species does this. I will have to rewrite everything. Senna spoke next. Her moisture suit glistened in the firelight. The Aquari fear Earth because of its oceans. We heard they are full of predators and poison and crushing depths. I will tell them the truth. Earth has water everywhere, falling from the sky, running through the ground, rising from the earth as steam. This is not a death world. It is the most alive world I have ever seen. Kira stretched her forearms toward the fire, enjoying the warmth on her blue fur. I won a competition to come here. My parents thought I would die. They cried when I left. She smiled. Now I have seen storms and rainbows, real fire, wild animals. I ate something called a s'more and it changed how I understand the universe. When I am old enough, I will come back. I want to see the oceans Senna talked about. Pell clicked her mandibles thoughtfully. I prepared 200 antidotes. I used 3, minor treatments only. No one needed saving from this world because you knew exactly what you were doing. She looked at the humans with compound eyes that missed nothing. The medicine on this trip was not my antidotes. It was the experience itself. Everyone turned to Mott. The small Venari sat close to Leo, wrapped in a blanket, cup of hot chocolate cradled in his feathers. I was certain I would die, Mott said quietly. From the moment I was assigned to this mission until the moment we entered that cave. During the storm, I spent every second waiting for death. He paused, the fire crackled. Death did not come, and when danger finally arrived, you did not protect yourselves first. You carried us, sheltered us, made fire to keep us warm. You did not even hesitate. Mott looked up at the humans. My report to the Council will recommend continued contact with Earth, expanded programs, more exchanges, because I learned something important on this trip. What? Danny asked. Humans are not dangerous because they live on a death world. Humans are dangerous because they protect what they care about, and for some reason you decided to care about us. Silence fell around the fire. Annie wiped something from her eye. Leo placed a gentle hand on Mott's shoulder. Danny cleared his throat. We have something for each of you, a gift to remember Earth. Leo reached into his pack and produced 5 smooth stones. He had collected them from the stream they crossed on their first hike. Each one was different. Gray and brown and white, worn smooth by water over countless years. Nothing special, Leo said, handing them out. Just pieces of Earth to take with you. Senna turned hers over in her webbed hands. Such a simple thing, rock and mineral. But it came from a river on a world that the galaxy feared. You are welcome back anytime, Annie said. Next year maybe we try ocean camping, beaches, waves, marine life. Mott's feathers flattened instantly. No. Everyone laughed, real laughter, the kind that comes from shared experience and growing affection. The fire burned down to coals. Stars wheeled overhead. One by one, the group returned to their tents for the last time. 3 months later, Ambassador Rila stood before the Galactic Council. She held the official report from the Cultural Exchange Program in her feathered hands. I expected horror stories, she announced. Deaths, injuries, trauma. Instead, I have received reports about campfires and chocolate and rainbows. Murmurs spread through the chamber. Earth has submitted a new application. They wish to host a larger exchange next year. More volunteers, more locations, more camping. The chamber fell silent. Then movement in the observer gallery. A small feathered figure raised his hand. Mott stood before the assembly. The same Mott who had been forced into this mission as punishment. The same Mott who had recorded 17 goodbye messages. Before departure, I volunteer to lead the orientation program, he said. Stunned silence, then whispers, then something that might have been applause adapted for 400 different species. Rila approved the application. As the chamber emptied, she sent a private message to Danny Reeves on Earth. What is ocean camping? Should I be concerned? Danny's reply came hours later, just 2 words and a small image. You'll see. The image showed a beach at sunset, waves rolling onto sand, a campfire burning near the water, and in the distance something massive breaking the surface of the ocean. Rila stared at the image for a long time. Then she began preparing her goodbye messages. Just in case,